I wanted to make this video for members in the group that are just starting to teach their horse the pattern. A lot of times you see these finished horses that we do reviews on, and I wanted you to see it from the standpoint of a horse that's this is Rocky's 4th time loping the barrels ever. So mind you, I think he's 5 or 6. 5? I think he's 5. This is before my hip surgery a year ago, so must have been 5. So before he ever loped the barrels, though, he was born with dysmature, which means he was very, very small. He was only 30 pounds. He was in ICU, long story short. But when he started, I didn't start him in saddle till he was 3. And then I only did like 30 rides and kicked him back out. And I really didn't do his basics till 4. And I didn't teach him the pattern until 5. Okay, so this is 5. And when I taught him the barrels at a walk, I always rated where the tracks crossed and then rode him square, and I always shaped him till his pivot spot and then let him come out straight. I always had him move over right away, rate, and then shape to the pivot spot, and then go cue, always rate before the barrel, always shape from spot 1 to 2 to the pivot spot, and then come out straight. So that carried over to a post trot, sit, jog as well. Same thing as a lope. Now, this is a very small arena. It's only 60 feet or 80 feet across, so the barrels are only 60 feet apart and 10 feet off the fence. So this is a pretty small pattern that way. It's 120 feet long, but it's only 80 wide, so the pattern's 60 by 70. So 60 from 1st to 2nd, 70 to 3rd. So I with him, because it was only his 4th time, and he was lazy, I had him lope a circle and then go. So that's how I ended up a little bit over here instead of here, because I had to keep my momentum going. So ideally, I would have liked to have been here and then to the arc. So he's just out a little bit. But as you'll notice when he comes in, because he was taught the D pattern, I don't believe in loping the barrels until they can lope the D pattern one-handed perfect, both directions, okay? So, and you'll see videos of Rocky loping the D pattern. I have those in the group as well. So if you'll notice when he comes in, I'm putting it in slow motion, I'm able to ride him 2 hands to his arc, and now I'm looking in the hole, and it's very important at this point in the game, spot 1, spot 2, spot 3. I want 1 strider right here, 2nd strider right here, 1st stride around the barrel here, and then 2nd stride snapping out here. All right, so let me clear that out of the way. So here's my rate 1. Notice my hand position is forward. Rate 2. I bend my elbow when I get in the hole, and he's just in an S hack, a little side pull. He comes around nicely, spot 1 to 2, and then he pushes out at his pivot spot, spot 2 to 3. Now I go back to 2 hands right away and try to get him to move over with my left leg, because this is such a small arena. So I put weight in my right stirrup, left leg, and go back to 2 hands. I immediately start looking now in the hole again, which in this case will be on the fence line because it's only 10 feet away. Now he's not going to swap his lead because it's such a small pin until 1st stride out, and he's a lazier, push style horse. Some of your more sensitive horses might swap back here, but he's a little bit more lazy, so he swaps here when he does his 1st stride of rate. Notice my hand position. Notice I'm looking straight. My shoulders and hips are even. And he rates 1. And then rate 2, at my legs at the barrel. Spot 1 to 2 is his 1st stride. Now notice I just start looking around quarter turn at a time. When you get between spot 2 and 3, you can look up for your next spot 1. Okay? So that's what I do. And he comes around, pivots out nicely. I go back to 2 hands so he keeps his line straight, because remember, he's a colt. He doesn't know. I don't want him to over finish the barrel. I just want a nice straight line. So he's carrying his lead just fine here. Okay, and then I'm still 2 hands. Sit for rate, go to the horn, rate 1 before the barrel, rate 2 at the barrel, stride 1 from spot 1 to 2, stride 2 from spot 2 to 3, and he's out of the barrel. He might take 1 more step on that barrel because I took him in a little bit more pocket, going in, just not much, but just enough that he's got a smaller stride. So he should probably have been a foot tighter than that. But sometimes I safety up on young horses. I'll give them a little wider going in so I can have tighter coming out. And so I could have probably kept that just maybe a little smaller. So my point being, though, is you base it upon You don't want to take them to the barrels until you have a super solid foundation, because you want them to learn things the correct way, and my goal with Rocky is that when I sit and say easy or whoa here, inside leg going in, outside leg coming out, notice inside leg, go to the horn, whoa here, looking straight, riding straight, outside legs finishing, inside legs going in, whoa here. And that's all he needs from me. And he's doing it mainly off of my eyes and my body and my leg. So keep that in mind. And the other thing to keep in mind is your horse's size, stride, and style. He's a small 14-3 push horse, and he has a small stride. So a smaller horse can have a smaller arc, a smaller pocket. A bigger horse might need 5 feet and might be able to go a little bit further behind a barrel, and they might need a bigger arc. A free runner, you might be sitting and asking for your rate much sooner, versus a push horse, you might sit up into one stride from the barrel. So all that's going to vary. So I hope that's helpful for you guys. And just know that there are certain things your horse should do before you start running the barrels. Face flexing, left, right, and down. Leg laterals, picking up their leads in straight lines and in circles. Transitions from a post trot to a sit jog. Perfect 10-foot circles. And like I said, walk and trot the barrels nicely before you ever lope them. Be able to lope the D pattern or single barrel. All of those things are things that will benefit your horse. Rollbacks, loose rein, whoa, backing, side passing would be great. Just having a really broke horse. Counter bending is a great idea. All of those things are really helpful so that the barrels is so easy for them. I hope that's helpful. Thank you.